That is the main argument I get, is this is just like the panic over rock and roll and comic books and in the 18th century novels.
And television.
Yeah, all of them, that's right. This is different for a couple of reasons. One, there's never been an instant, huge increase in mental illness the instant kids got onto technology. That did not happen with comic books. Second, we never saw kids organizing to say, please, comic book makers, please make your comic books less addictive. We can't stop reading them. Please stop. But we're getting all kinds of Gen Z organizations, because you talk to the older Gen Z, you talk to any Gen Z kid between 20 and 28, and you ask them, would you say that growing up with phones and social media has been good for you and your generation? You will never find anyone saying yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, Jonathan's book, The Anxious Generation, has exploded in the US, and quite right too. How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. Very heavy sort of subtitle there, but it's actually quite a light and very inspiring and very optimistic read. Tell us about the giant milk carton, first of all, Jonathan.
Sure. So really the theme of the whole book, I can summarize the whole book in a single sentence. We have overprotected our children in the real world, and we have underprotected them online. And so I teamed up with an artist, this brilliant artist, Dave Cicerelli, who did the American cover. And he had the amazing idea that we can dramatize that, what I just said. We can dramatize it by making a gigantic milk carton, 12 feet tall. Because in the United States, some of your listeners may know, in the United States, I grew up in the 1980s, and you're at morning breakfast, you have your milk, and on the milk is a picture, black and white picture of a kid. It says missing. And this kid was abducted, and it's almost always abducted by the non-custodial parent. There's almost no kidnapping in the U.S., but we were all supposed to be frightened of strangers. And so Dave had the idea of because that's the sort of thing that made us afraid to let our kids out. We started overprotecting them in the real world. And Dave made these milk cartons that showed a picture, but what it said was missing childhood. Because what we've done by protecting our kids in the real world, saying you can't go out there, but you can stay online as much as you want. You can sit in your room where you're safe. They're actually at quite a lot of risk. So it was a really powerful, dramatic illustration of the book.
And almost the sort of the antithesis of where kids are now is the old-fashioned playgrounds. You have a picture of one in the book. Now, I used to love going to the playground. I still love taking the kids to these now much safer playgrounds because anything is better than nothing. Right. But they were crazy, weren't they, back in the day? Yeah. These places.
Well, they were, but that's So we had jungle gyms, and I still remember like falling on the jungle and banging my chin on the metal bar. But boy, do you learn how to be careful. And so the point I'm trying to make, I show in the book I show this old playground from Texas in like 1910. I mean, the kids could, it's this gigantic scale, thing the kids can climb. They could die if they fell. Yeah. Okay, that, I'm glad we have safer consumer products. But the point is, if you're on a playground where you can get a little hurt, then you learn how to take care of yourself. You learn how to not get hurt.
Yeah.
Whereas the kind of playgrounds that my kids were raised on in the the 2000s, everything is soft-edged plastic. You can't get hurt, and so you don't learn how to not get hurt.
Yeah.
You don't grow much.
I've read the whole book, so I'm going to ask questions off the back of where the conversation seems to want to go itself. So off the back of that one, let's go to video games, which wasn't where I was going to go and start. But so my son, my eldest son, he's got a rig. He's got an F1 rig for his PlayStation. He loves motor racing. And so he drives around all these different courses, different events, different styles of driving, different cars. He can create and build his own car before he starts racing. But of course, there's no consequence if he crashes. He doesn't, he didn't have to buy the car in the first place, save up money for the car, doesn't have to not prepare the car, doesn't have to repair the car. There are very few consequences, and this is one of the problems you speak to in about the virtual world.
Yeah, well, that's right. So video games are very, very important, and that's video games and porn are the main problems for the boys. Very different from the girls. For the girls, we could talk about social media all day long. It's hurting them in so many specific ways that I hope we'll get to. For the boys, the thing to keep your eye on is not the content of the game. People think like, they're playing violent video games. It's going to make them violent. No, it doesn't work that way. What you need to focus on is your boy spending 3 hours a day doing something that builds no skills for adulthood, that pushes out everything else, including time with his friends, and that gives him rapid dopamine, rapid reinforcement for simple little actions. If your kid is spending 3 hours a day during puberty on video games, it's probably going to influence brain development in ways that are not helpful. Our boys are not turning into men because they're not doing things that would teach them skills of manhood.
Right. Now, so what has been the most sort of impactful time span for this? The last 15 years, last 10 years? When did this kick in? What we're speaking to you now? When did these habits start to form?
Yeah. So at the heart of the book is a sort of a story about how we got here, and it really focuses on the years 2010 to 2015. That's what I call the great rewiring of childhood. And the reason that we all got tricked, the reason we all thought this was okay, was that the 90s were amazing. So, we're beginning to crack down on play. We're bringing our kids inside. We don't want to let them out. But we've got these computers, and these computers have the new internet. And the new internet was fantastic. We all remember, really, I can just type in a question, I get the answer instantly. This is what humans have dreamed of for thousands of years. And so the millennials, they grew up with this early internet, and they're fine. The millennial generation is fine. They're creative. They take risks. They started companies. And so we thought, well, computers are good. They're good for our kids. The internet is good. It's good for our kids. That was the early internet. Everything changes around 2007. The iPhone comes out. It's not bad at all at first. But then you get the App Store and push notifications. You get the front-facing camera in 2010. You get Instagram is popular in 2012. High-speed internet. So in 2010, young people, we can still call them millennials, were using their flip phones to connect with each other and meet up, and that's good. By 2015, young people, now we can call them Gen Z, are on the smartphone between 5 and 15 hours a day, high-speed data, front-facing camera, posting on Instagram, not seeing their friends anymore. They're doing the phone instead of the friends. And so by 2015, we have what I've called a play-based childhood. In 2010, kids still had a play-based childhood. But in that 5-year period, everything changes all around the developed world, and kids have a phone-based childhood. And that you cannot grow up to be a healthy human being.
All right, so we've spoken to about boys. There's so much more to say, but we've got limited time. Let's talk about girls now. So social media and being online and smartphones have a different effect on girls as boys. So what are the headlines there?
That's right. So the headline there is that something happened to girls right around 2012. It's as though someone flipped a switch somewhere, and I suspect it was Menlo Park, California, and all the graphs of levels of depression, anxiety, and self-harm, they were very stable from the 90s through 2011. There's really no sign of any problem up to 2011. All of a sudden in 2012, 2013, all those lines start going skyward. And it's not just in the US. It was when I discovered that we see the same patterns in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Scandinavia. That's when we realized, whoa, this is gigantic. This is a global destruction of teen mental health and of social capital and trust and human ability. So the key thing about girls is if you want to trap a girl, if you're a company, you want to trap a girl. The trap has to have bait. The way you bait a trap for a girl is social news. Who's fighting with who? Who said what about who? Who's dating who? Who broke? So social news, that attracts the girls very strongly. And then the point of a trap is once the animal takes the bait, they can't escape. Yeah. Well, once all the girls are on there exchanging social information and watching everyone else's, now they can't leave, because if they leave, they're alone. There's nobody else out there. So that's what happened in 2012. It's a complete transformation of girls' mental health. And the harms from that, the list is like a page long, but just the constant social comparison is the most obvious one. And especially in early puberty, if you have an 11, 12-year-old girl, the worst thing you could do for her is put her on a platform where every day is going to be comments on her face, her hair, her breasts, her eye. It's crazy. It's crazy to do this to early adolescent girls, but we do.
Right. So again, the book it goes into all this in much more depth. I know you're on longer form conversations via podcasts, which I've listened to with our friend Rich Roll and other people like that. So this is the guy. The name you're looking out for is Jonathan Haidt, Haidt, Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation. So again, it's headline time for us, if that's okay with you. Can you play devil's advocate to your own theories? The top 3 devil's advocates challenges that you've had to sort of address? Yeah.
So from parents and teachers and heads of school, nothing. They all agree. Everybody's seen the problem.
Okay, so the important ones then.
Everybody sees it. But there is a debate with other psychologists, including some here in the UK. They say, well, the time you spend on social media is correlated with bad mental health, but the correlation is so tiny that it doesn't matter. So there's a big argument over the correlations. I don't want to get too deep into the details of correlation coefficients, but there is a correlation, and then we debate, is it large enough? And then there are experiments. There are experiments where you make people get off social media for a while, and do they get better? And the answer, according to recent studies, it doesn't really matter. Some go one way. But when you remove the short-term ones, when you ask people to go off of something they're addicted to for a day or two, they feel bad. But if you look at those studies that lasted 3 weeks, they feel good. Yeah. So there is a debate among other scientists, but I think I have answers to their objections, and I think the number of different kinds of data that show that heavy users of video games and social media are having all kinds of problems in life.
Yeah. Okay, so can you give us 3 things we can do today that you would push us to do today to help our situation and the collective situation?
I'll do it only if you let me do 4. Can I do 4?
Yes, please.
Okay, because
do 5.
No, 4 is it. We need 4 because the book it would be incredibly depressing up through chapter 7 because it's just really dark what has happened to our kids. But actually, people are really enjoying the book because it ends with some pretty simple things we can do to get out of this. We're in this because it's a collective action trap. We give our kids in the UK. I just saw data from Ofcom. 5 to 7-year-olds. 24% have their own smartphone. Yeah. It's just normal in the UK to give a 5-year-old your old smartphone. It'll be good for him, you think. No, this is craziness. So, but by the time they're older, they insist on getting it because everyone else has it. So what we have to do is get out of this collectively. 4 norms we can break out of this. 1, no smartphone till age 14. Wait until they're at least through early puberty. So no smartphone till age 14. 2, no social media till age 16. Social media is wildly inappropriate for kids. I mean, the sex, the violence, the addiction, the manipulation, the men who want to see them naked. I mean, it's insane. So no social media till 16. The 3rd is phone-free schools, and this is happening really fast. Listeners, if you want to do one thing to really save this generation, contact the head of your kid's school and say, please go phone-free. And phone-free means from bell to bell. It does not mean just during class.
And the pushback you'll get there isn't what you'd expect because the teachers just want your permission or your help to make that happen because they would like it to happen yesterday.
That's right.
But they're getting pushback from parents who, for some bizarre reason, claim their kids need their phones.
Well, that's right, because for all of human history until yesterday, parents could not contact their kids during math class. You can't be texting with your kids, but we had this brief period from 2012 until today when parents can be in constant contact with their kids even during math class.
Yeah, and the naysayers often have more energy than the people who just want peace and love. So we've got to find our energy, guys.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And so the head of the school, they need to hear from parents and say, please let my child have 6 hours a day to listen to the teacher and to talk with other kids.
Hallelujah.
Because they're not doing that. And when schools go phone free, one of the things they say is, in between classes, we hear laughter again. Yeah. We haven't heard that in a long time.
So interesting.
Yeah. And the 4th, which is in a way the most important and the most neglected, because it's the hardest one. If we're going to take away the screens, a lot of the screen time, we're going to give our kids back a play-based childhood, we have to give them play. So the 4th norm is more independence, free play, and responsibility in the real world. Our kids feel useless. They say, my life is useless. All they're doing is video stuff. Give them chores, give them freedom, give them groups to play. By age 8, 9, 10, we were all out on our bicycles. Yeah. We were all out having adventures that made us grow. We've got to give that back to our kids.
Yeah, we have car cleaning sessions in our house. So Sunday, I got 5-year-old twins, have a 12-year-old, I have a 15-year-old, and I have grandchildren as well. And we were all cleaning the cars on Sunday, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it, and it's all to the ice cream shop afterwards, which isn't ideal.
Wait, and were you doing it with them? Were you cleaning it with them?
Of course I was. Yeah.
Okay, so now that you've shown them, now pay them to do it by themselves or whenever they can, whenever they're old enough.
No, absolutely.
To do it, and they will feel so useful.
And they did love it, and then they got an interest in their feeling, and they're out of their left side of the brain into the right side of the brain, and they're achieving flow. I know you know about all this. You've written about it all so many times.
And then try to find a neighbor, even if you have to pay the neighbor. Just say, hey, could you hire my kids? Let them have this experience of working for money.
That's very clever.
So that's
whatever it takes, man.
Whatever it takes, we got to get the kids out from under us.
Can you speak to the fact that if your kids get home, try say the phones away now. The second they get home, not before they go to bed, but you can go on the laptop. Now you can go on the laptop, you can talk to your friends, you can do all the things you normally do on your phone, just do it on the laptop. Why is that better for children than those smaller screens?
Yeah. So a laptop is better for a couple of reasons. Yes, that's what I tell my daughters. Look, you want to be in touch with your friends? use your laptop. So the touchscreen technology is uniquely powerful. B.F. Skinner, one of the founders of behaviorism, taught us, and many others, that if you want to train an animal, the trick is give them a reinforcement as quickly as possible after the behavior. And if you wait an extra second, you get much less learning. So on a laptop, you have to move the cursor, you click what you want, you hit it. It takes a second or two to do something. Whereas on the touchscreen, it's pretty much instant.
Yeah.
It's also more colorful. It's also closer to their eyes. And so for a lot of reasons, a phone-based childhood, which is what Gen Z has, is much worse for development than a laptop-based childhood, which is what millennials had to some extent. So that's part of it. But also, I think, what I would advise here is, especially, look, send your kids out, give them a phone, but it should be a flip phone or a brick phone. Your kid does not need the internet in their pocket to go to the ice cream store, to go to school. Let them have a flip phone before 14. And then when you do give them a smartphone, have some times that are phone free. The most important is school. Get the school to be phone free. Then they use the phone to get home. At home, as soon as they get home, as you say, as soon as they get home, that was the rule in my house. You put your phone on the kitchen counter, you can charge it, but that's it. You don't, you can use your laptop. And no screens at all at mealtime, and all screens out of the bedroom by a certain time, 10 o'clock, let's say, was in my family. So we can't keep our kids off of the internet, but we must keep our kids away from continuous 24/7 access to the internet in their pocket, in private, in their bedroom, when strange men all around the world are trying to contact them and get them to share a phone. I mean, don't keep them away from the internet, but do keep them away from the phone-based life.
So, I mean, another devil's advocate argument would be, but when rock and roll records came out and 7-inch vinyl came out, we should lock ourselves in the bedrooms. Isn't it the same thing? Mm-hmm. And you say to that, your response to that is, well, no, it's not. Oh, you're just being alarmist. And you say, no, I'm being an alarm ringer, which is different to being an alarmist. Can you tell us the difference and why it's different with these devices? Yeah.
So in The Boy Who Cried Wolf, he cries wolf twice and it's fake. Now, and then of course the wolf comes the third time. So is the lesson of that fable that if someone makes a false alarm twice, then you should disconnect the alarm system? No. There were a lot of previous moral panics. And that's actually the main, you asked me for a Steelman thing. That is the main argument I get, is this is just like the panic over rock and roll and comic books and in the 18th century novels.
And television.
All of them, that's right. This is different for a couple of reasons. One, there's never been an instant, huge increase in mental illness the instant kids got onto technology. That did not happen with comic books. Second, we never saw kids organizing to say, please, comic book makers, please make your comic books less addictive. We can't stop reading them. Please stop. But we're getting all kinds of Gen Z organizations, because you talk to the older Gen Z, you talk to any Gen Z kid between 20 and 28, and you ask them, would you say that growing up with phones and social media has been good for you and your generation? You will never find anyone saying yes. They know this thing is destroying them, and they need a way out. That was not true with comic books or television or anything else. So this is really different. This one's really different.
This is really different. Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation. We're talking to Jonathan. This book has exploded in America. It will do the same here. It's a fantastic book.
Can I just say, please go to anxiousgeneration.com. Yes, we have all kinds of resources, including links to a couple of great UK organizations.
Yeah, we're not finishing, by the way.
Sorry.
No, we're not.
Okay.
No, we're not wrapping up. By the way, you should go there. I meant to say that. Sorry. If you don't get the book, go to the website. You will get the book anyway. Give the website URL again.
So anxiousgeneration.com.
Okay. There's so much on there, all for free, 100% for free. Great. In the book is this sort of jump out chapter, which is the chapter on spirituality.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you're asking.
Now you're not a religious person, but you are more spiritual now after writing this book than you have been. Yeah. Just tell us about that if you don't mind.
Sure. So my first book was called The Happiness Hypothesis: Finding Modern Truth in Ancient Wisdom. And I'm Jewish. I'm secular. I'm an atheist. But from studying morality and studying ancient wisdom, I've discovered, you know what? People need to be rooted in a community and tradition. We thrive like that, and we have trouble when we're too free, when we're unbound. So I've developed a lot of respect for religion and what religion does for people's lives. So I'm a very pro-religion atheist, as it were. I got to chapter 8 of the book. I finished all the chapters on kids, and I was about to go to the conclusion. And I said, wait a second. This is really destroying adults, too. We're all having trouble with this. And so I thought, well, how is it affecting us? And what I realized is our phone-based lives are exactly the opposite of what the ancients tell us to do. So ancient wisdom is, judge not lest ye be judged. Be slower to judge, quicker to forgive. That's what the ancients tell us, East and West. What does social media do? Social media says, you better judge now, right now, because if you don't judge right now, you're going to get judged for not judging. So we jump to conclusions. We condemn people. It's just constant anger. That's no way to live. The ancients tell us, sit still, meditate, focus your mind, gain control back of your mind. What does social media do, or life online? It's you got something in your ears, something in your eyes, stuff's always coming in. My students never have a moment to think. Yeah. So in so many ways, whatever you think of as spiritual progress, and I have a spiritual life, I have experiences, especially awe, beauty, all the things that you think of that are expanding your soul, and I'll use that word. A life online generally shrinks it, it contracts it, it makes you lesser.
Yeah, I suppose so. Oh, no, I know so. I agree with you entirely. And that the thought that you brought to the surface there, a lack of judgment nowadays is interpreted or weaponized as an accusation of a lack of interest. Yeah. If you do not judge, you are not interested. But you can be completely interested and not at all judgmental.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And that's actually wisdom is, you know what, things are complicated and people have many motives. And when people do things, there's always a reason for it. There's always a context. And you're a better person. You're a more evolved person if you slow down and say, I'm going to try to understand this person before I condemn them publicly. Why would you shame someone publicly when you don't have any idea what was really going on in their lives?
Now, we think this is the smartphone problem is a problem, the same problem mostly everywhere in the Western world, but it is different. It is worse in America, and you say that in Britain we are a little ahead of where the rest of the world is in doing something about this.
Oh yes, that's right. So in America, we're not likely to get any federal legislation ever, where there are all kinds of reasons for that. Of course, the companies are American. They spend huge amounts of money to influence Congress, not so much to influence Parliament. So and also in Europe, you have more of an ability to legislate, regulate. You like that more. We have a more libertarian temperament, which I think generally is good, but in this case is blocking us protecting our kids. You've introduced the Age-Appropriate Design Code, which has all kinds of good features to make things safer. You have the Online Harms Bill. So the UK is really the world leader, frankly, in getting a handle on this.
Hang on a second. Control a round of applause. We're the world leader in getting a handle on this. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you.
That's it, yeah. And another exciting thing about it is that both in your country and in mine, this is a totally bipartisan issue. Yeah. Because whether you're Labor or conservative, you probably have kids and you've seen it. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, this is what's so exciting in the U.S. We can't agree on anything. We can't, the two sides, if one side says it's night, the other side will say it's day. Yeah. It's horrible what's happening in the U.S. On this issue, it's completely bipartisan. We all see it. We all see it in our kids. We all want to change.
Yeah, it's so true. And before you go, the other thing I wanted to ask you is in the past, when parents found their kids smoking, it was much more difficult to tell them not to smoke if you carried on smoking. How much of a problem is the fact that we carry on with ours, but we're telling them they can't have theirs?
Yeah. I don't think that's really actually that big a problem. Adults always ask me that because we feel guilty, because we know we're often addicted to.
I'm just trying to put myself in the kid's mind.
Exactly. So what is it that a 14-year-old cares about? If I start reading The Economist magazine every day, I have a 14-year-old daughter, is she going to say, oh, Daddy's reading The Economist? I want to read The Economist. Of course not. But if the kids in her 7th or 8th, now 9th grade class, if they're whatever they're doing, that's what she's going to want to do.
Right.
So the kids are that's why, again, it's a collective action problem. Each family has trouble solving it alone, but if we act together, we can solve it, because the key is not what you're doing. Your kids aren't copying you. Now, of course, they'll stay there because they're so good at arguing. They're so good at saying, you're a hypocrite, Dad. Why, you.
Yeah.
But they're not really on it because you're on it. They're on it because all their friends are on it.
It's just that you chose The Economist there as a defense. Whereas because we know that lots of musicians come on the show and we say, how come you started to play the guitar? Well, because my uncle came around with a guitar. So if it's something that they like, then that argument wouldn't work as well.
Well, now hold on. There are some things that are just really attractive, like being able to make music. That wasn't peer pressure. A kid started playing guitar because his uncle was amazing and he loved his uncle and his uncle encouraged him. That had nothing to do with peer pressure.
Right.
What we're talking about is peer pressure. You have to be, look, most kids end up having more fun if they play outside, but when given the choice, and many of us have seen this, you go on vacation with your kids, you go to this amazing place, what do they want to do? Sit in the hotel all day because they have their iPhone.
Because it's easier.
It's a short term, it's more attractive to them. It's literally more attractive, even though they'll have sort of more fun if they were to go outside.
Yeah. So it's not that much easier to get on, but it's much more difficult to get off once you're on.
Well, that's right. Also, the tech life removes all the barriers to everything.
Right.
In real life, so if you're a boy, you need to it's really hard to approach a girl, flirt, get a girlfriend. And, boys used to have to work at things. Now, as soon as you're old enough to lie about your age, you're old enough to be on porn. Yeah. So boys are not developing skills of approaching girls. Boys are not developing much of anything because the tech makes satisfying your desires effortless all the time for free. This is a terrible way to raise kids.
Okay. So Matthew, Vassis's 18-year-old boy, has just got a girlfriend and it's changed his life. He's got a real girlfriend.
Congratulations.
And I suppose that's a macrocosm of what you're speaking to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting because we've got a 20-year-old girl and an 18-year-old boy, and I've seen an awful lot of what's in your book in those two, and we've also got a freshly turned 10-year-old girl. And Mary, if you're listening, well, you should be at school, but in case you're not at school, in case you're playing truant and listening to the radio, I'm afraid you will not be getting a smartphone, until you are 14 at least. Right. But do you think, Jonathan, that we are we've reached the peak? And we are now like on the way back down, like that.
Yes.
My cousin Ileana, she's a big PR, and she represents these two parents who started this thing called smartphone-free childhood.
Oh yes, I know them well.
You know them, yeah.
Yes.
So, and she says it's just completely exploding everywhere.
Exactly.
That all the parents go yes. So, are we?
Absolutely.
Thankfully, have we reached the not the peak, I guess the depths, and we're on our way back up.
That's right. We are past the tipping point. A good example. So when you have a system held in place by fear, and nobody likes it, it can change very quickly. And that's what happened with the fall of communism. We thought it was, nobody. If you were to protest, you'd be killed. But all of a sudden, the Berlin Wall comes down, and all over the East Bloc, people rise up and pull down those terrible governments. Now, it's a bit of a strange example here, except that the system was kept in place here with fear of missing out. Everybody felt they had to be on because if they weren't on, they'd be alone. And nobody liked it. Gen Z doesn't like it. You're not going to find many people in Gen Z who say, oh, these are great. They're just terrified of being left out.
So it's like the fidget spinner, really. But the fidget spinner, because it's so one-dimensional, it's not actually, because it wouldn't be a fidget spinner otherwise, but compared to a smartphone. But once they've all done it, it's done and it's over.
Well, except that one kid using a fidget spinner didn't force others to do so. This really is unlike anything in our history. But my point was just that things are changing. I've never seen social change happen so fast as has happened this year, 2024. And Daisy and Claire's example, smartphone-free childhood, is an example. Because we're all ready for change. We just didn't know what exactly to do.
And it was on the way just pre-COVID, wasn't it? And then COVID and lockdown, basically, the problem with lockdown was it wasn't kids getting bored. It was just that they had to get back on their phones to communicate with each other.
That's right. So we started becoming aware that these things were problems in 2018, 2019. That's when I began debating with the other scientists about this. And then COVID comes in. In 2019, what kids really needed is a lot less time on screens, a lot more time outside playing. COVID comes in. What do they get? No more time outside playing because we stupidly said like, oh, you can't be near other kids. Like, no, outdoors they should have been. So kids get no more time outside playing and they get their entire day on screens. Yeah. So COVID really messed us up even more and confused us. Yeah. And only now that COVID's gone, now we see the wreckage all over the developed world.
All right. But you're here to help save the day.
Well, me and a bunch of other parents, because we all see it, we're acting, and you can too.
Count us in, let us know if we can help, we will.
Well, you just have.
And the book, what's the book about ancient wisdom that you wrote?
Oh, it's called The Happiness Hypothesis,
really
Finding Modern Truth in Ancient Wisdom.
I've got it. You haven't got a copy with you, have you?
I don't, not when I travel. It's my wife's favorite book because it's the most positive and uplifting.
Beautiful. All right, Jonathan, great to see you. Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation, and go to the Anxious Generation website, which is once again
anxiousgeneration.com, and also my Substack, afterbabble.com, where we put out all kinds of research and essays.
Got it. Love it. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Chris, what a pleasure.
Have a great day.
Virgin Radio.